Amazing. Hello, everybody again. So I would like to first start off by introducing today's topic. And I have to give full credit to Johanna Angallo, who is going to be hosting today's session. I'm just crashing this session for a very special reason, which will become apparent later during the call. But the reason we are here today is, as we all know, AI is becoming increasingly embedded in our daily lives. It's shifting society's core socio-technical values, and it's leaving many grappling with the ethical implications of its use. There are concepts like privacy, accountability, and fairness, which are being reshaped by AI-driven applications. I'm sure you all saw how AI-generated Ghibli studio-style images have sparked debates over what privacy, copyright, artistic integrity, and the nature of creativity itself. The machine learning models that power AI don't just reflect existing values, they are actively shaping them. They're influencing the way that we navigate an AI-driven world. So today's AI Expert webinar hosted by Johanna Gallo will be a discussion, a timely and urgent discussion with senior data engineer and Google developer expert in machine learning, Carla Vieira. So Carla is here today, and I would welcome both Johanna and Carla to join us now. Welcome, Carla. So lovely to have you.
Thanks, Mia. Really happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Carla Vieira, for those of you who don't know, has been recognized on 100 Brilliant Women in AI Ethics list. Super inspiring professionally and personally. We've been a big fan of Carla for a very long time. And she's joining us from Brazil. And again, the representation has been just phenomenal. Again, credit to Yana for making this happen. Yana is one of our volunteers, and she's also our volunteer lead. So she makes sure everything is always running smoothly along with her volunteer colleagues. Carla is here today to explore the critical intersections during these challenging times, examine how AI challenges and redefines our ethical and societal norms, how sector-specific interests shape ethical considerations, and she will highlight the best case examples where societies are actively safeguarding human values in the age of AI. We need that positive outlook because we need something to plan towards, something to inspire us that a better world is possible. So thank you both so much for joining us today. And I will now go off camera and hand it over to you both. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Carla, for joining us. I'm very happy that this is finally happening after we have been trying since April to have you here with us. So welcome again. And let's start from the beginning. Could you tell us and explain us a little bit what is exactly explainable AI and how did you get interested in this topic?
Great. I really love this question. So I think explainable, I like to define, there are different definitions for explainable AI. You may find like interpretability AI, explainable AI, transparent AI. They are different, but let's focus on what they intend to do. So when we say, or when we mention the term explainable AI or XAI, we are mentioning designing AI systems where the decision-making process of the model can be understood and trusted by humans, whether they are developers and users or stakeholders impacted by the AI system. And when I say AI system, it's because I do not like the definition of mentioning AI algorithms or models, because I wanted us to think that when you create a model, regardless of its type or its specifics, you are creating a product that is going to be inserted in a society or community and it's going to be impacting people. So it's kind of a system. So that's the idea behind explainable AI. So it means that we may be able to understand the why the model made a decision, what features influenced it most, and how confident the model was about this decision, because this creates trust and allows us to investigate better how that model works. Because the current landscape that we have is that we have a lot of black box models that are running everywhere, but we do not understand, or we are not able to explain how they work. And this is even harder with generative AI because it's a more complex model to explain, to find explanations behind a prompt or behind a decision and response from the model. The why and how did I get interested in this topic is really funny because when I was like in the end of my graduation, I was considering doing a master's degree, but I didn't know exactly which topic I would research. And I think this is a very important question when you want to do a master's or a doctor's degree. You're always wondering, what should I research? What should I do? What topics are interested for me? Because I've had been always that person that programming is not the most important part of the work. It's not what fascinates me. I have always been this side of me that cares about creating social impact. And I was trying to find something in AI that is a topic that I liked during school that I could join like this part of me that likes to create social impact with computer science, with AI. And I was trying, okay, how can I do that? And I just started searching and talking to people to understand because I met people who were researching, oh, let's use AI in health. And I said, oh, this sounds like really something really good to do, but I didn't want to work in health. So I discovered, because I didn't know before that we had an issue with AI, and the issue was that the models lack explainability. They lack transparency, they lack accountability, because I was not familiar with this issue, and I know that many people are not yet. So during my research, I faced this challenge and I say, okay, I want to help to tackle this challenge and I want to support people to improve or think what is the role of computer science in this problem? What can we do to help? Because I say what we can do to help because it's not up to us only to solve it. We need people from different, we can talk about it later, but we need people from different disciplines, different areas to work and tackle the transparency and bias issues that we have in AI. So I think that was mainly that brought me to the field, trying to fit this side of me that cares about social impact, not only like using technology as the end, but understanding how technology is a way of solving problems.
It is a really interesting story that when you started, you probably didn't know where you will end, right? Like it was
Yes,
a field that it was developing with the last years, right?
yes, exactly. This was like in
And
2018. So there was not like a lot of people in Brazil researching that as well. So finding an advisor was also really hard.
yeah, I was thinking that. And also, can you share a little bit how was to do research on that topic being in Brazil? Did you find also like in Latin America some interesting research or people to talk to? How was that?
I think at first, finding an advisor was hard because many professors were not researching that in Brazil, and some professors may be more resistant to start researching on a topic they are not familiar with because they're going to have bandwidth for that, how they're going to support you. And I found a professor that was willing to start working on this topic without previous context. Thanks, I found him. He's a really special person in my life. So these are like the first challenge. But after that, I was trying to find other colleagues that were researching this topic. I was very fortunate to say, and I'm very happy for that, that I could find many, many colleagues in Brazil from other disciplines, not computer science, that were researching it. So I found people from communications, from journalism, from the law school. They were researching like how to create explainable AI, not exactly the how, but they were concerned about it. And I noticed that this problematic of having black box models was only living in these areas, and the people from computer science, like the technology people, were not talking about this. And I say, okay, we have a problem here because they have identified that we have a problem with AI, with lack of transparency and bias. They need computer science people to help on tackling this problem, but we don't have enough computer science people in Brazil, at least in Latin America, trying to solve this. So I started talking to more people. I met in a wonderful network that we have in Brazil that we work together still since like 2019. We have a lot of diversity of people backgrounds in this group, and is a group of Black researchers. So we are all Black people working in Brazil to research this topic. And that's really interesting because I was really fortunate to find that. And over the years, I'm really happy to say that more people in Brazil and Latin America are researching this topic. So I have seen some schools that are including AI ethics inside their curriculum, which I think it's really important to do. Even is it like an optional, even it is optional in the curriculum, not mandatory, but I think it is still a great movement to recognize. So now we have a lot of people who are researching, who are referenced. So I'm really proud to say that we changed a lot since I began my master's degree. So we have a lot of more people on that.
That's a really happy news for us. And tell me, what are your thoughts on making the explainable AI more human-centered? Now that you are into the group of people building the technology and that context for the use of this technology, do you think, or what are your thoughts on this algorithm bias, and what is exactly the ultimate goal of making explainable AI more human-centered?
Because I think that making explainable AI more human-centered is not a silver bullet for bias. Bias has its own, how can I say, specificities. You have like its own uh, problems, but designing human-centered AI or creating explainable AI that is human-centered means that we need to design explanations that are understandable, actionable, and context-aware for different users. Because if you are in a bank and you are creating a credit or risk model, you need to share for the user that, oh, there is a model here that's impacting the decisions of you're getting a loan approved or not. And you may explain what drove that decision. So that person may have an action, for example. So it's your income that should be greater, and then you can work to try to improve that. So it's giving more actionable insights for the users. At least in Brazil, this is still something really hard to do. We're still working on the regulations itself. So some companies are not there yet because as we don't have regulations, they're not caring too much about this, to be honest. But when we say about bias, I think having the communities that you're developing your products to close is important to tackle the bias issue, because bias came from multiple layers. So we may have data, we may have historical bias, maybe it's the model design, so how it was built, who built it, like is the team diverse? So the explanations I found during my master's degree that building explainable AI may help you to reveal that bias that the team may have not found. It's really nice. You may use explainable AI as a tool to find bias. So, but for doing that, you need to make sure that fighting bias is something that is inside the development process. Like when you're developing an AI product, it's part of the workflow, finding this bias, looking for it. Otherwise, you're not going to find it unless it's like affecting and damaging people. So we need to make sure that in the development process, we have in place standards, frameworks, things that are going to help people to review bias and try to solve it somehow. But we know that solving it also requires active governance. It may require diverse perspectives, as I said before, and evaluation metrics specific for that. So you can measure that as well. Because if you cannot measure, it's going to be really hard to convince or to talk to someone from the leadership to say, hey, we have a problem here. Because they're going to ask, okay, what is the problem? How big is it? How can we solve it? If you don't have exactly actions on how to do that, it's going to be something that is going to be ignored somehow.
How do you see that accountability going on Latin America or on Brazil?
Well, that's really hard. I think companies are not doing that because they are not obligated to, because we don't have really hard regulation. At least in Brazil, we are still working on the regulation itself. So right now, they don't care too much about giving accountability. What they do need to give accountability is more about the data usage. So right now we are tackling really well the privacy issue. So if you are collecting someone's data, you need to share why that data is collected. You need to explain how this data is used. So um, this is being tackled, this is being addressed. But the other issues that we are more concerned about, like how AI may be sexist or things like that, is not being still addressed.
Did you hear about any good examples outside that you feel that Brazil should have been doing too?
On good example of how we should do it.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So I cannot disclose the name of the company in Brazil,
Mhm.
but we did have a company in Brazil that calculates your credit score. So when you calculate this credit score, people maybe they discovered they have published an article. As far as I know, I can search for it. I don't remember, but they were trying to find bias in the credit score model they had. And what they found is that the location of where the person lives in Brazil was highly correlated with its race. So we could tell if someone is black or not by where they live in Brazil. Because as Brazil is half of the country of Brazil is black, so for you to know, so 50, more than 50% of the people are black. And usually black people live in the most poor areas in Brazil, regardless of the state. That's really common. And we may have more black people in the Northeast, etc., because of the colonization, etc. So after they discovered that, they started tackling that because race was not one of the features of the model, but this was like a latent feature. Based on the location of the person, you could infer the race, even though race was not explicitly there. So what they did was solving that and also sharing with the users, implementing like counterfactual explanations for the users so they could understand what were the main drivers for calculating their credit score. So was their income? Was because you did a new credit card. And when you see like in the app, you can even see the explanations detailed of your credit score. So I think this is a good way of providing like users that we are working on fix that. You publish an article on the academic community about that, and you even share with the users what are the main factors affecting their lives so they can understand, okay, I may not agree on how my credit score is calculated within this company, but at least I know how it is calculated. So I can try to improve that. So if imagine it's my, how can I say, if it's my credit card, I can have work some, try to work on that so I have a better score. So you provide actions to people and more transparency as well.
Yeah, it's really interesting how all these biases sometimes are not explicit, but are more embedded and contextual.
Yes, exactly.
Data.
That's the hard part.
The hard part, and also that's why you also need a more diverse team to work on finding these issues to solve it, to have a more useful tool, or tool for metrics, or tools for people to use. So I was thinking, coming back to your experience working on this topic, and how teamwork actually work when you are developing an explainable AI system, and how complex this could be, and what are the challenges that you usually find when you do this?
Yes, for sure. You probably notice so far that it's very much disciplinary. So you need people from different fields working on that. But usually we do have like the data science. They are going to be the people responsible for creating the models and make sure they are following practice to avoid bias and also investigate bias. But having also UX researchers or designers is really important, so they can lead brainstorming sessions with the teams to try to think about these use cases that are big corner case. So try to really sit everyone in a session and think. So is this model or this system may harm someone? Let's think about it. Let's try to create some scenarios where that may happen and test if this is going to happen, or having this in our roadmap. So when the model is ready, we can test for these scenarios as well, like the bad path scenarios and also the good path scenarios. So having UX designers and research to help you, it like technical person may, I'm a technical person, so we may be limited on our code, on things that we are doing. So these people that understand better about the product and the experience we're gonna give the users, they may help us to ask the right questions, so we can have answers for that as well. Also have domain experts. So if you are in a bank, you may have someone from credit that knows about a lot about credit to help you on doing these sessions. And also, if you have a policy in place or some regulation that you need to follow strictly, you need to have policy and legal advisors. I say because in Brazil, we do have a discussion for a global legal definition for AI regulation, but we don't have sectorial needs. So bank may need a different regulation than the healthcare industry may need. And we do have for banking, I think it's one of the industries where we have more advanced legal definitions. We do have already some requirements in place. So having these advisors to share with the team, which are the requirements here, what we can do, what we cannot do, it's important as well. But I think it's important to have like this whole team interdisciplinary working together and making sure we have sessions to connect them to make these questions and go beyond our code, like accuracy, calculating recall, understanding how the model is performing, going beyond that.
Yeah, and I can assume that there are many challenges on trying to agree on things with this in these different phases, but also with different approaches to the things that you want to solve.
Yes.
Yeah, Carla, tell us a little bit more about your thoughts on how social and political challenges are automated as mathematical problems to be able to allow automation.
Oh, that's a really hard one. I was discussing this with some colleagues last week because this whole thing about creating AI for social good is really hard because even the definition of what is social good may be subjective and it may differ from your background, your religious beliefs, where you're from. So I think these are really deep questions because uh, when we automate decisions regarding like political and social challenge as mathematical problems, as you said, we need to formalize these really hard human concepts like fairness, risk, trust into numbers. And numbers, they are very rational. It's 1 or 0. There is nothing where it's in between. And the simplification is not neutral as well. Like if you have a model that is going to define fairness, you need to really think about what is fairness in that specific context. Because many times we define fairness as having equal opportunities or the model is gonna perform the same regardless of your race, your gender, your age. But have you ever thought that in some contexts, fairness may be otherwise? Fairness may be getting a group that do not have any privilege and give more privilege for that group, so that group has a chance. So it's really hard. I always say that before creating an AI systems, we need to think if they are the best tool for that problem, because I have the feeling that we have this, how can I say, habit or as technical people to try to fit technology into everything. Believing that technology is the final solution or for everything. And sometimes technology may how can I say, uh, things are going to be worse if you use technology at some point. So I think we need to reflect when you're trying to solve a problem to take a problem solving approach. This is the problem statement. How we are going to solve them. Technology is only one of the tools we have. We may have other tools to solve that. So I think doing this exercise more time is gonna avoid a lot of problems in the future than trying to. But the thing is that people want to put technology in everything because they want to sell things. They want to tell you that, oh, so the safety of your country is gonna be solved by using this facial recognition tool. No, it's not gonna be solved. In Brazil, we have a lot of problem with violence, and using facial recognition, let me tell you, is not making everything to be fine because the violence has more deep roots than trying to arrest people, right? It's about
Yeah.
education, it's about having access to school, it's about having access to healthcare, it's about having access to basic human needs being assisted, right? So it's not technology is not going to solve these human needs that people need before they get into criminal system. So this is just an example of people trying to simplify so difficult problem like violence in a country by using facial recognition. So that's just to summarize, but I think it's really hard to do that.
Yeah, right. No, I love it. I am also really amazed about the amount of funding available for doing tech things with AI in Latin America and the Caribbean, just because it is the funding available, but also the political trend on improving digital transformation. However, this could not be the solution that the population need. So it's yeah, I love what you say, that technology is a tool and is not necessarily the tool that we need to solve deeper problems. And with this last question for you, we're going to start to talk a little bit more of your career and how you are building your career, but basically a more personal question. So Mia is here too, just to try to learn more about you.
Thank you so much, Johanna. Can I just say, I was just going yes, yes, yes to everything you said. It was so amazing. Again, I cannot thank Yana enough for making this happen and for you agreeing to come to us. We've had to make a lot of changes, but this is really one of those conversations I was waiting for because it's so grounded in reality. You're not here. And this is the beauty of a lot of speakers that we invite and the guests. We are not trying to sell you anything. We're not trying to tell you how great AI is. We don't work for big tech. We don't work for vendors. We are looking at ways that we can solve real problems, and then you look at use cases as to where it can actually help humans. We are very human
Yes,
centered because end of the day, that's it, right? Like, who are we doing all of this for? Like, what are we doing, right? If we are just creating technology just to sell it and then sell for what purpose? Like, that can't be the end goal. So we lose sight of the human. So I was excited that you were joining us today, and I have a very personal, I also have a personal agenda. I've been following your journey for a while, as you know. And one thing I did not know about you, a lot of people don't know about you, is you were very into fitness. So one thing I don't share very broadly, and very few people know about me, that I was into bodybuilding for, yeah, but I live in California. I know, right? Like, yeah. Uh, I was into bodybuilding. I've done a couple of competitions, and yeah, I don't really share. I put it out there because there's something about our society and the professional world that we live in that some parts of our always get hidden. And then I saw your profile, and I've not been very inspired. You know, life happens, things happen. And like, and every time I look, I'm not even on Instagram much, but the only reason I go to look at your profile and look at some, you know, just to get inspired as to how, because you're a super athlete. I've seen your pictures, you're competing, and we can drop a link to your IG here. I think we have it
yes,
somewhere. If someone can just drop a link, please do follow Carla. And like, if you're looking to like boost, right, like your personal, you know, I feel like strong is sexy. I don't want to lead. I mean, I don't care about this whole like the pressure that everybody puts. You have to be skinny. And I'm more about no, you need to be strong. And
yes.
that's what we need, right? I'm just always, I love to flex. I'm always like, we are strong. We got to flex that muscle. So what I would love to do is talk to you about how did you get started? What inspires you? How do you balance your work with your like, you know, like the the dedication that it requires and discipline that it requires to also be an athlete. I have so many questions. So yeah, totally fangirling here. So yeah, please share.
Okay, so I think it always started during the pandemic. I've always been a very sedentary child and teenager for a long time. My parents tried everything. They tried volleyball, badminton, soccer, football, ballet, and anything you can think they tried. And I was like, I hate doing that because I'm small, okay? I don't know. Let me find how much fit I am. It's fit in US, right? Mainly. So I'm like, I don't know how to
I'm
calculate,
tiny
but
too, by the way. I think a lot of them. I
yes, I
always feel
have
like
like,
surrounded by giants.
yes, I'm really small person. So I was like, I cannot do anything because I'm really small. All these sports are for strong people. I'm like a small, skinny child. How am I gonna do anything? So during the pandemic, I gained a lot of weight. I think just like a lot of people, and it was I'm not so much about the weight you have, but I was more concerned about the behavior because was like using food to feed my emotions because I was really my mom is a nurse, so she was like in the front line of battle COVID, and it was really hard. And I started eating hamburgers and Ben and Jerry's ice cream every day for months in a row, and I get too much weight. I was not happy with myself, not only about the aspect, like the physical aspect, but also the behavior. This was not healthy. So I started psychotherapy. I went to the doctors because I was not feeling well, and I started doing some exercise. So I started doing Pilates. I did some gym, like bodybuilding, but doing the gym, not being bodybuilder. I think this is too hard, Mia. That's amazing that you have done it. It really requires a lot of
Yeah.
discipline. So I started doing like strength trainings or couts at home because we are not able to go outside. And I started liking the results. I was like feeling happier because this make this made me want to have a better diet as well. So trying to eat more healthy, have more fruits in my routine. And after a couple of years, like 2 years ago, I discovered CrossFit. I didn't have done CrossFit before because for me, CrossFit was too strong people. And I said, I'm just starting to exercise. I'm doing Pilates like an old lady. So I may not go to CrossFit right now. So the last 2 years, I have been doing CrossFit only. I love doing CrossFit. And I think what I love most about the CrossFit, like in my first day, there are no mirrors. So
Wow,
I
that's
noticed that
amazing.
in the gym, when you go to the gym, there are a lot of mirrors. People are like flexing, looking at their muscles, and doing this kind of thing. And I was like feeling really bad because I started doing that. I was checking every time, how is my physical? How am I doing? And no, that's not what I want. I want to be strong, like Mia said. I don't want to be skinny or I don't know, toned. I want to be strong. I care about like what is my body capable of doing. And like CrossFit has a lot of that because people are so tired, like on the floor after the workout. They do not care about what you are wearing or uh, your clothes or how skinny you are. Because sometimes in CrossFit, you see like really, really skinny people they just get like a lot of big weight. They do everything. They look like, how can I say, superheroes. You're like, oh, I was not expecting that. I really judge that people by how they look and they are stronger than me because in CrossFit it doesn't matter your size. You can be it shows you it's about being strong. So it was really important for me for like body dysmorphia and also on the psychotherapy side to do CrossFit. And I need to fit this in my routine. You asked about how to fit this in your routine. I think it can be really hard. I think it can be something that you define boundaries in your life. I think like getting this life and work balance is really hard, even for me. But what I try to do, and I have always tried to do, is to be the person in the room that say, hey, I have some norms. Like I usually push for meetings where we share team norms. So you have a child, maybe you have a norm that every day you need to leave by 5 p.m. because you need to take your child, or you want to have dinner with your child because this is something important for you. And my team norm, like my personal norm, is I need to work out every day, otherwise I'm gonna be crazy, and you guys are not gonna support me. You're gonna be crazy because I'm crazy, so I'm not gonna be working well. I'm not gonna be the performer that you want me to be. So I need it to be an important part of my life. So I changed how my life, how I manage my week and my work based on I need to keep these norms because it's like it was not always perfect. Like last year, I started not following my norms anymore. I was missing workouts, not eating healthy, not having enough water. And at some point, I just stopped and looked at the mirror and say, "That's not Carla. Like I'm not following my own boundaries. I need to go back to them." And this year in January, I restarted everything, going back to them, going to the workout every day, it's important for me to do. So I think it's a hard exercise, but it's up on you to define your boundaries and do not let work get in the middle of that, or get your time, your whole time, right? Because many times we let this happen, get time from us with our families or from our personal time working out or doing whatever you want to do. If you want to run, if you want to do arts or think whatever you want. But I think that's mainly what it's doing for me. But CrossFit is a very important part of my life. Like I cannot, I don't know how, it's also a community. I didn't mention that, but after the pandemic, I moved houses and I didn't know everyone where I'm living right now. And a friend of mine gave this idea of doing CrossFit for that as well. And I decided to do CrossFit and I discovered a family, to be honest, uh, a bunch of people who are always together every day to work out. So we meet during the weekends. We do like special coffees on people's birthdays where we bring food to celebrate. Like we have some friends that are pregnant right now. We are like supporting them during this pregnancy, during CrossFit because it's hard to be a mom pregnant and still go to CrossFit because you need to adapt everything. So I discovered a family as well. So this is the other side. Like when I go to the CrossFit, it's just not me going to work out my body. It's just me meeting some friends as well that I really like. They're really supportive to me. So I think that's mainly it.
Love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm just in awe. And everything you said, I'm just tracking in my head. Like first is the boundaries, set clear boundaries, protect your time, protect your peace, and prioritize your self-care, and just like end of the day, it's not about pleasing others, it's doing the right thing for yourself. And I feel like so many of us, as we work in this space, ethics is not a glamorous space. As much as people look out there and like look at the headlines, oh, doesn't this look amazing? And then they start working in the space. It's like, no, it's not sexy, it's not glamorous, it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot of boring details. We work on things that are not like singing, dancing, robots. We don't work on that, right? I mean, we are not working on entertainment. So having that groundedness where you have community that you can go to and work on yourself and build that and be strong, then you can continue on that journey that you're on and as a full human being. And sometimes this partitioning of I do this for work and this for my family and this for everybody else, but it's somewhere in there we lose ourselves. And I feel like this just talking to you and understanding how you do it, I think it's going to inspire a lot of people. And I'm going to say, and I am definitely inspired. I am definitely going to start again. And I think it's really about the baby steps, like take tiny, tiny steps. I feel like
Yes,
I'm so
exactly.
goal oriented. It's always about the big things and the big things and doing how big can I go and how much can I achieve. Now it's just about small things, small increments. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Just consistently just working on
Yes,
it
exactly.
and finding people who can hold you accountable. We can hold each other accountable. So anybody wants to do that, I'm happy to be your buddy and we can do this together. But Paula, I mean, you are brilliant in so many ways professionally, but getting to know this side of you was absolutely priceless. So thank you for that.
Yes, I'm
To
really
those,
happy to know that
yeah,
because as I said, some years ago, I was a really sedentary person. And I'm really happy like that I came from that point to be someone that is inspiring others to do the same. So for me, it's really nice to hear that.
oh, Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy. I'm so happy to hear that. So switching gears, Joanna, we do have some questions for our amazing guest. And the first one, would you like me to read it out, Joanna, or would you like to?
You can go ahead, yeah.
Okay, okay. This is a great question, and I hope you're still here. I don't know, I'm not going to butcher your name. And I think they may have already dropped off, but I will go ahead and read the question. Can explanation ever be liberatory? Or are we still speaking the language of the system when we try to explain its decisions? What would it take to build explainability that supports sense making and resistance for communities targeted by algorithmic power? Whose terms are we using to explain? Who gets to decide what counts as understanding? Can we move from explanation as compliance to explanation as coherence, hearing, or resistance? I swear, this is the best question, and we've had many great questions, but what a question. Wow. Thank you
Yes.
so much for asking this because this just blew my mind, and I would love to hear your answer.
Yes, I think this is like all the set of questions that are really urgent and really important. And myself, I have wondered about that many times because when I discovered all these issues regarding bias, explainable AI, transparency, accountability, how AI may harm people, what the first thing that came in my mind is it for me to decide how to solve it? Is it for computer science who created the problem in first place to solve it? So I think that's the reason why I decided to follow a path where I was working with people from other disciplines because I didn't want to be the technical person saying, hey, we built the problem, I have the solution for you, like many people try to do, not saying that explainable AI is the solution for everything. And I think that's the importance of having, what can I say, of being human centered. Because if you are human centered, you may find that, okay, our technical team is trying to answer how the users want the explanations, but maybe we need to hear from them. Maybe it's not explanations what they really need. Maybe they need a different solution for this problem. So I think these kind of questions, they are, how can I say, reflexive, uh, but they are really critical if you want to build something that is going to impact people in a good way. Otherwise, it's gonna be just like a band-aid that you're trying to put to say, oh, we do have some kind of explanations, and your explanations doesn't explain anything. They are not helping at all anyone. And how the question said before, it's kind of, how can I say, who gets to decide what counts as understanding, right? Uh, whose terms are we using to explain? So really, like, I don't have a question to that. I'm just reflecting along with the question, right? So I think these are the questions that we may need to put somewhere, these questions that this person asked it somewhere, and I'm gonna look at them every time and say, hey, it's for me, whose terms I'm using to explain this, right? So I think these are really reflecting questions that we need to remember to go back to the why we are creating this, how we want to solve this problem, and listen more to people before just assuming we know everything that may need.
Thank you. That was a very insightful response to a very insightful questions. And sometimes I feel like insightful questions force us to reflect also because we still are on a journey of learning and we just add
Yes.
to that. And I completely understand like what terms we use and what is the purpose of the explanation and who is it benefiting. And there's so much to unpack there. And I've just asked, okay, I'm going to butcher your name. I apologize profusely. Sidnor Hain, who asked this question, and I have their permission to post it online as well. And I think more people should be reflecting. Okay, amazing. So I didn't butcher your name. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll
Because
make sure.
I took
Yeah,
a screenshot because I really
yeah,
like the question.
yes. I will put it online and we'll put it on our LinkedIn page. I would like more people to weigh in on this and be thoughtful about these questions. So thank you. Another question. Okay, Agueda Sanchez. To Carla, I love that you're working from Brazil and that your work is in Portuguese. What were the challenges to keep the true meaning of the information you're studying and sharing in one language and translate to English or vice versa to communicate the core message of your work? How do you keep them aligned? From someone who speaks 3 languages, Portuguese, one of them, I see there's a challenge in keeping the meaning aligned due to the nuances of the languages. Amazing. What a great
Yes.
question. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, I really love this question. Really good discussing about these language issues that we may have. I think one of the hard things is that when I started researching about explainable AI, all the vocabulary is created using the English, right? So I think what was hard for me was I mainly work in English because this was my way of publishing and achieving more people with my work, and also for how can I say, computer science field is really hard to publish in Portuguese. So it's easier if it's in English. So I started doing everything in English, but I had this in me that I needed to publish in Portuguese as well. And the group that I work with, we are all working only in Portuguese. We publish like open source books for people about AI, generative AI in Portuguese, because that's what we want to do. We want to share with people from here how these things work. And it's really hard. For example, fairness is a word that we don't have a translation in Portuguese for that. So what we try to do is we kind of translate to the closest word that we have, but we try to add some context on that because we know that there is not a direct translation. The same goes for bias as well. We do have a word for that, which is bias, but we don't like using that word. So bias is a good example because in the work that we do in the group, we don't use the word bias. We don't use that. We use the word, there is another word for that, which preconceito. And preconceito, what it means is sexism, racism. It puts everything together. So we try to avoid some words that are trying to hide what is really happening. Because when you say, oh, there is a bias in the model, sometimes this bias is the model is being racist. Simple as that. Crystal clear. So in Portuguese, we try to avoid using bias and we try to be more explicit about what is happening behind it. Usually that's what we do.
That's amazing. I love
Love
it.
it.
We have
Yeah.
to keep calling this out. I mean, seriously, we can't just dance around what the issue is, especially culturally, that culturally it doesn't even make sense in many contexts. So appreciate that. So we have 2 minutes. And I just want to leave, if anyone else has any questions, any feedback, anything you'd like to ask Carla, or please feel free to use the comments. But we are pretty much at the end of time right now, Carla. This has been so insightful. And I just wanted to thank you from the bottom of my heart for making the time, for all that you do. And you continue to inspire us in so many different ways. Also, a big shout out to Yana. You made this happen, would not have been possible. And your commitment to the cause and making sure all Latina voices are heard is just phenomenal. Phenomenal. Like kudos to you. And this was such an important conversation for us to be having today. So thank you so much again for joining us. And also thank you to our audience for the great questions.
Yeah, thank you all. Please connect with me on LinkedIn or Instagram. I'm really happy to keep connecting with this really great community. And girls, count on me on how can I support the community. Let me know. I'm really happy for your invitation. Happy to be here as well.
Amazing. I will just ask I've asked one of the volunteers. I'm just full of so it's amazing. Overwhelmed in a very good way. If folks wouldn't mind just adding the reading circle chat, yes, please, Janet, right on the mark. We have a reading circle tomorrow. We discuss authors and papers in a very informal manner. We typically have, we already have about 200 people registered. So please join us tomorrow as well, same time to 11 a.m. ET. And the recording will be posted online on Substack as well as YouTube. So whichever platform works for you, please join us there and follow along. Thank you all so much again.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a nice day.